ACM nominations came out today, and they are awesome. We got Charles Wesley Godwin and Gabe Lee, Cody Jinks, Tyler Childers, Flightland Cavalry, all nominated for a big mainstream award show. And it's cool to see. Yeah, that's not what happened. And that's never going to be what happens, and that's okay. The ACM Awards are big mainstream award shows. It's going to be major label artists on the big major labels in Nashville that are getting the nominations, and that's just how it's always going to work. That said, I still think there's interesting stuff here. I just want to go through the nominees in today's video. The nominees dropped this morning. They announced that Keith Urban is going to be the host, so sorry, Reba, but you should not have gone and hosted the CMA Awards, I guess, or else some Australian with better hair is going to come and take your spot. I'm just kidding. Keith Urban does not have better hair, but I would guess he uses way more expensive hair product. So eligibility for this year's awards is anything released in 2019 from January 1st to December 31st. So if you had an album that you loved that came out in late 2018 or one that you loved that just came out this year, they're not going to be in this mix because this is just stuff that came out in 2019. In this video, I'm going to go through each category, talk about who I felt like was really snubbed, who didn't get any more attention, and at the end, we'll talk about people who got left out altogether. Okay, Entertainer of the Year. We got Luke Bryan, Eric Church, Luke Combs, Thomas Rhett, Carrie Underwood. So just like the CMA Awards, we've got that kind of battle between Eric and Carrie that's, you know, would seem like the obvious big battle in this category. Maybe people are going to say Carrie is the front runner because everyone thought in the year of celebrating the women at the CMA Awards she would get the win, but Eric Church is on the Double Down tour. He's been playing double headers at every city he goes to. That's been huge, and then he's also been cruising on the success of Desperate Man. So I do think it's probably between the two of them. I'm gonna say Eric Church actually gets it. Luke Combs, I wonder if he is like a dark horse competitor here. And then Luke Bryan, who knows? I don't know. Sometimes these just go to the safest option, so maybe Luke Bryan gets it. Okay, Female Artist of the Year. KELSEA Ballerini, Miranda Lambert, Maren Morris, Casey Musgraves, Carrie Underwood. No real surprises there. I would love to see Ashley McBryde make it into this category eventually, but I get that she hasn't really had a big, huge hit. Now, in the last year, Miranda put out Wild Card, which I think is a strong album. Maren put out Girl, and Maren is very obviously kind of the woman of the moment in country music. I just don't think Girl ultimately is a country album. I think it's so much more interested in being a pop and R&B album, but she's kind of the it girl. I probably see her walking away with this. I feel like the years where it was just a duel between Miranda and Carrie are kind of over. Now, Casey Musgraves won the Grammy, but that's voted from like people all over the country, and the Recording Academy is based out in LA. So even though last year she had this big moment and won the Grammy for Album of the Year for Golden Hour, I just think that there's too much bad blood in a weird way between her and Nashville. Even though she's signed out of Nashville, even though she's very proud to sing country music, you know, the years of not paying her any attention while the mainstream has paid attention has created this bitter vibe there. And I don't see a lot of people voting for her. So I'd say this is Maren's award, and maybe Miranda slips in there. And look, Carrie's been on a huge tour as well. I don't know. I think it's between them three. Male Artist of the Year. DIERKS Bentley, Luke Combs, Thomas Rhett, Chris Stapleton, Keith Urban. Isn't it weird that Eric Church is nominated for Entertainer of the Year but isn't nominated for Male Artist of the Year? That's so strange. It's gotta be Luke Combs. No one had a bigger year than Luke Combs. I mean, last year, Beautiful Crazy was #1 for like a bazillion years. I think it was #1 for 7 weeks on the Airplay chart, and the Airplay chart is notorious for being kind of hijacked by whichever label will pay the most money to promote their song and make sure it gets to #1. And so they have a new #1 every week. So the fact that he was #1 for 7 weeks means there's some real passion there. Chris Stapleton has a freaking amazing voice, but he kind of hasn't done anything for a few years. I would be sort of annoyed if he won, even though I love Chris Stapleton. DIERKS. Yeah, The Mountain's kind of too old, and DIERKS is just putting out Hot Country Night stuff at the beginning of this year, and it's amazing. Thomas Rhett, I know he's on a big tour. He released Centerpoint Road, which is I don't know. That album hasn't stuck with me. Has it stuck with you guys? I feel like he is like a lifestyle star. Keith Urban? No. Remember when he won last year? Ugh. Graffiti U. Nothing, until we have officially turned the page on the Graffiti U era, until it's totally gone, I want nothing for Keith Urban. All right, Duo of the Year. This is always a hilarious category because there just aren't that many duos. Brooks and Dunn, Brothers Osborne, Dan and Shay, Florida Georgia Line, Maddie and Tay. I feel like the only one that can win this would be Dan+Shay. They're just like huger than ever right now with their boyfriend country, kind of like schmaltzy romantic pop. They do a good job at what they do, and 10,000 Hours has been a huge hit, but I'd like to see Brooks and Dunn get it. I thought their reboot project was really cool. It was fun to have them back in our lives. Maddie and Tay, that's nice of them to nominate Maddie and Tay. I think they're amazing, and I'm glad they're finally getting to release their freaking album. Group of the year. We got Lady Antebellum, Little Big Town, Midland, Old Dominion, The Highwomen. The Highwomen's interesting in there at the end just because they were not nominated for Album of the Year. That's kind of the place where I thought they would be nominated. Because it's hard to say if they're going to stay a group. Was this just a one-off that was meant to like kind of put together these big women in the music industry and then be sort of a rebuke to country music not supporting women on the radio? So is this just a special project, or are they going to be like a full-time group? I don't know, but it is interesting that they got nominated here. I would imagine this goes to Old Dominion. They're kind of the safe bet. And in my review of their last album, I talked a little bit about how they're kind of relentless positivity and just sort of determination to have good vibes and just make positive music. I find really boring, but whatever. Sometimes the music industry supports boring. The least boring by far of these last few releases, I'd say, was Midland's, just sonically. Lyrically, you might argue The Highwomen was, but Midland's record sounds so good. I mean, cheating songs, Put the Hurt on Me, It just sounds great, sparkly, expensive, country, fun. I loved Let It Roll. And so for me, I'd vote Group of the Year, but it's really a toss-up, and I bet Old Dominion ends up taking it away. Okay, New Female Artist of the Year. They do this weird thing at the ACMs where they do new female and new male, but they didn't do like new group. So sorry, Runaway June, and sorry, anyone else that is a band that started, you don't get a nomination. All right, new female, we got Ingrid Andress, Gabby Barrett, Lindsay L., Kaylee Hammack, Tennille Towns. Everyone's kind of breaking out right now. Lindsay L. has been floating around for years. She had Criminal, and then she was on Brantley Gilbert's What Happens in a Small Town. Kaylee Hammack had that song Family Tree that didn't work, but now people are really raving about her new song Small Town Hypocrite. Tennille Towns is someone whose voice I love. I think it's interesting. I liked Somebody's Daughter. I love Jersey on the Wall, but has not been very popular. The two that are kind of having the most organic success are Ingrid Andress and Gabby Barrett. Ingrid has that beautiful, gorgeous song, More Hearts Than Mine. And for that reason, I think she's going to take this. It would not shock me if Ingrid Andress decided to go more in the pop direction in the future. I get the sense that she really likes more just sort of straightforward pop than country music. Okay, new male artist of the year. Jordan Davis, Russell Dickerson, Riley Green, Cody Johnson, Morgan Wallen. Look, Jordan and Russell are like making exactly the type of music that I really wish were not taking over country music, the kind of snap track, overly smooth R&B, playa country. Riley Green's album sounds really solid, traditional, but I think the writing on it is a little too checklisty for my taste. Cody Johnson's album is good. It's just rock solid. He's got an amazing voice. It's funny to see him in new male artist of the year. I feel like it should be like new Nashville Male Artist of the Year because he signed that sort of distribution deal with Warner Brothers. But Morgan Wallen definitely has like the most buzz, and I'm not just saying that because I just did a big interview with him. But I think this to me seems like it could be Morgan's award to lose. But I could also see it. And, honestly, it's probably going to go to, like, Russell Dickerson, and I'll be eating my words just because he's a big radio star. And in Nashville, the center of the universe is still radio. I'd like to see Cody take it or Morgan take it. Album of the Year. This is the award that means probably the most to me in this whole award show. We got Center Point Road by Thomas Rhett, Girl by Maren Morris, Heartache Medication by John Party, What You See Is What You Get by Luke Combs, and Wild Card by Miranda Lambert. Interesting. Now, if I were to immediately just say which one I think should win, you guys know it's Heartache Medication by John Party. It was my #1 album of last year. I think it's amazing. It brings the fiddle back. The songwriting on it is so strong throughout. It just, to me, is lush, beautiful. I like how Bart Butler produces things. That's my winner here. But I also think What You See Is What You Get and Wild Card are deserving nominations. Girl from Maren Morris, I really don't think is a great album. And again, I just don't think it's a country album. And I'm not saying that that makes it bad. I'm just saying it's confusing to me why it's kind of in this realm. And then Center Point Road by Thomas Rhett, I also think is more interested in being a pop album than a country album. But he's like the star of the format or of the new generation. And so I kind of get it. Now, there are some huge snubs in this category. Huge snubs. Like, namely, Where is Magnolia? Where is Magnolia by Randy Houser? I know Randy Houser is past his prime. I get that. But now, when the CMAs didn't nominate him, I was just holding out hope that the ACMs would nominate Magnolia, this beautiful freaking record. Nope. I also didn't think it would happen, but would have loved to see Country Squire by Tyler Childers make it into this mix. I think it's a really, really strong, fun record. Same thing could be said about Let It Roll by Midland. Same thing could be said about Greetings from Jake by Jake Owen, which was just completely overlooked in the last year. Obviously, there's a million guys out of Texas, a bunch of people out of Appalachia, a bunch of indie artists. I'm just trying to be realistic. Who's mainstream enough to get a big nomination like this? And those are some of the ones that came to mind. On top of those, I also think that it's surprising that Tanya Tucker did not get a nomination for While I'm Livin', especially after that was kind of a big Grammy moment for her, and that was her big comeback album. Same with The Highwaymen, which I've already talked about. Then we got Single of the Year, which is a category that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I could not find a clear definition of what it was. It goes to the artist, the producer, and the record label. So I guess it is just measuring coolness, like what was the most relevant cool single, because there's a Song of the Year category too that goes to the songwriter. So single is like everything but the lyrics. It's kind of a weird category. But you got God's Country by Blake Shelton, One Man Band by Old Dominion, Rainbow by Casey Musgraves, Rumor by Lee Brice, and What If I Never Get Over You by Lady Antebellum. Rumor is the big surprise here to me. I mean, Lee Brice is just not one of those people whose names you hear in these types of conversations. Rumor was a real slow burn hit that kind of crested very, very slowly, and by the end of the year, you're like, ooh, I like this groove on Rumor. Rainbow is a surprise to me here just because it wasn't a hit. It's kind of like a viral thing where people find Casey Musgraves through the song Rainbow, and it's so beautifully written, but I think it peaked at number 17 on the chart after the Grammys, and all these other songs were like big number one hits, so it's kind of interesting that it ended up here. God's Country to me, if I had to add up like cool factor, mainstream success factor, whatever we're defining this by, I think it's the most interesting single release in a long, long time, and certainly not one I would have seen coming from Blake Shelton, who I thought was just gonna play it safe and like lean into his voice persona. I like that he did something kind of dangerous and dark. Okay, Song of the Year. This is a songwriting award. We got 10,000 Hours by Dan+Shay with Justin Bieber. Love that he's nominated. Girl Going Nowhere by Ashley McBryde. God's Country by Blake Shelton. One Man Band by Old Dominion, and Some of It by Eric Church. Now, to me, it's got to be Girl Going Nowhere by Ashley McBryde. I still think that is a songwriter's anthem. It's beautiful. I think everyone can relate, whether or not you are a songwriter, whether or not you are a girl. I think you can definitely relate to the feeling of not being believed in and wanting to prove the people around you wrong. Just a totally beautiful song. It did not get its due on the radio. Ashley McBryde in general isn't getting her due, but we'll just keep believing in her till that happens. Video of the Year. Sugarcoat, obviously. This should be Sugarcoat. That video is beautiful. Songwriter of the Year. Ashley Gorley, Hardy, Hillary Lindsey, Shane McAnally, Josh Osborne. Now, if you pay attention to who writes songs, it's definitely Ashley Gorley. It's like always Ashley Gorley. He writes everything. That's a dude. Hardy had a bunch of hits last year, and then it would be like Hillary Lindsey on this list, I think. I think that would be the order that they go in. Ashley Gorley, Hardy, Hillary Lindsey. Maybe for being new to the scene and also being a performer, Hardy takes this, but I would imagine it goes to Ashley, or if they want to support Hillary Lindsey, she writes a lot more songs for women, which there need to be more of on the radio, and I could see them giving it to her. Musical Event of the Year. I don't care. I always think this is a weird category too. Let's just give it to that Fooled Around and Fell in Love with all those girls. I enjoyed that. Certainly not Dive Bar. The production on that is atrocious. Certainly not Old Town Road. And then there's Industry Awards, which I won't get into. Two other big snubs that I haven't mentioned yet are Jason Aldean, who's nowhere to be seen on this whole list. And look, I just at a Jason Aldean show. I find him an extremely boring live performer. I was not very impressed. He finally got into it near the end with some of his more rocking songs like She's Country, but he just kind of stands there when he's singing his R&B songs like Burning It Down, and you can't really see his face, and he doesn't banter with the crowd, and he's not charming. I don't know. It kind of sealed the deal for me with Jason Aldean. That's how he comes across to me on albums. He's obviously a huge star, so it's surprising that he's not here at all. And then kind of one of his proteges, who I think musically is very similar to him, is Kane Brown. Kane Brown is playing freaking arenas, and he's nowhere to be seen on this list either. He's kind of had a little bit to say about some of like his lack of nominations in the past, and so maybe he's got the reputation of having an attitude and the industry isn't supporting him, but it's just worth pointing out as well. As always, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes string pulling that happens with these award shows. There's a lot of corruption, for lack of a better term, that goes into voting blocks and how you can like leverage this agency and the people from this label to vote for this one artist. And so you got to take them all with a grain of salt. And they are what they are. One day I will grow out of caring about them and just be like, these are a sham. I don't care. I'm going to like the music I want to like. We can create our own award show where we can nominate the indies that we all enjoy. But until then, I'm opting in to caring about them a little bit. Oh my gosh, guys. I just saw in the corner of my screen this ACM Award trophy. Is the ACM Award supposed to be a cowboy hat that has been extended up? I think that's what that is. We've solved a real mystery here, people. Let me know your thoughts on the nominees, and I'm going to keep pondering this amazing trophy. Bye, guys.